Hi, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Dish with Pepper. It's me, Pepper Persley, and I am here with an absolute sports legend, Julie Foudy, who I had the honor of meeting and kind of being under the wing of at the Little League World Series before I had my big break as a sideline reporter. So I wanted to start by just having you talk to us about what your sports journey was like and what sports you played growing up and your first soccer experience.
Wait, can we just talk about how great your name is, Pepper Parsley? I want that name. Can I have that name, Pepper, please? Mine is so boring. I try and say Julie Rowdy Foudy to try and make it a little more exciting. It doesn't work. Okay, sorry. What were you asking me? What's my what?
Yeah, so just start by describing your sports experience growing up.
Okay, so I was a soccer player, as I think you know, and my sports experience, I was the youngest of four, two older brothers who would regularly think I was like their ball they could kick around. They were older than me, and one was 8 years older, the other 7 years older, and so I was the little sister who I wouldn't say abused, but who got battered around quite a bit in a good way. And I played every sport. I did tackle football. I did a little bit of volleyball in high school, which I loved. Softball when I was younger, and that's kind of how we rolled back in the day. Pepper, sadly, nowadays they're like, okay, you're 3 years old, you're going to specialize. You're 4. Wow, why are you playing multiple sports at 4 years old? So back then you could play a lot of different things. I ran track and field. So it wasn't actually until I went to Stanford University, the fine institution of Stanford University, that I just played soccer. And and then I obviously got to play a lot more soccer and played until I was in my early 30s and was lucky enough to play for my country. So really cool.
Yeah, absolutely an incredible career. I mean, you talked about specializing. It's like crazy. Like so many teams are like, well, if you play on this team, then you like can't do anything else on the weekends. And I'm like, but what about like everything else I want to do? But I have been lucky
What
enough
sports do you play?
Yeah, so I did play soccer for a while and
What do
somehow
you mean
faded
did?
out of.
Oh, I did.
I during actually it's kind of an interesting story, but like during the pandemic, it was really hard for me to continue. And then and it was like once you start playing travel soccer, it just gets more and more time consuming,
Yeah.
like you said. So it's like it goes from like 5 days a week to 6 days a week, and now like they want you to practice every day, and it was just really hard. And at that point, even before that, I knew that basketball was like my number one sport. So right now,
That's awesome.
so right now I'm playing basketball and softball, which is where I got my base in like baseball knowledge for the Little League World Series. So that's what I'm doing right now. And hopefully I'll be able to run track and field in the spring for my school.
Cool. Yeah.
Which is very exciting because this is the first year because of COVID that we're actually able to like play games against other teams as a school. So that's something
Yeah.
I'm very much looking forward to.
Yeah. Getting some normalcy back. Gosh, COVID was so hard on everyone for sports. I know. My two kids,
Yeah.
same thing. And then on top of it, just like that feeling of, oh my gosh, I can't play a sport 7 days a week year round and do anything else in life. And we need balance. And so
Yeah.
it just
And it's
drives
also, it
Patty.
also makes you more susceptible to injury. Like,
Yeah.
why would you want that?
And
Doing the same thing
burnout.
over and over again. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're
Terrible.
also like kids. So
Right.
like, I
Let
know,
them
like,
be kids.
yeah.
I
And I
know.
think
That's
it's
a whole
definitely
other
something.
podcast. We could do a whole podcast on this
I
alone.
know.
We
I
might need
know.
to, because there's too many crazy parents and coaches, and the system is not good.
But there are definitely programs I've been lucky enough to find that have been like adaptable to my schedule. And so that's really great. There's still teams and programs and parents like that out there as well. So just sadly have to look a little bit harder.
Right. You have to demand you get time off too, which is okay. Take it.
Yeah. All right, so I want to dive in to your career. You were on one of the most legendary and important teams in sports history, the 1999 team, which won the FIFA Women's World Cup champion. And I know you're also a two-time gold medalist. So just talk about what your entire experience was like with that team.
Oh my gosh, Pepper. The best part about that team is something I hope you're experiencing already in sports, is that you realize, like, oh my gosh, I just love hanging out with these people. These are incredible people who make me smile, and there's joy, and we're laughing all the time. We're pulling pranks on each other. And honestly, when people say, what do you miss the most in soccer? I think they think I'm going to say, oh, this Olympics we won, or this World Cup, or, this moment. And it's not that. I miss my teammates. I miss hanging out with them every day. And that's the really cool thing about that 1999 team and so many of our teams. I mean, it was the common denominator when you look on all the teams that won Olympics, won World Cups. Common denominator, yes, we had good players, and we have Mia Hamm, that always helps. But we all got along great. The team chemistry was off the charts. And so you do whatever you could for your teammate. And it's one of the best lessons you learn about life, and how to treat people, and how to be a good teammate, and how to find the joy in everything you're doing. And I was lucky enough to be surrounded by a bunch of amazing women who taught me that every day.
Yeah. And I think one of the great things about like a team and even like a school community is the fact that like you don't really have a choice but to make friends and to have connections with these people, because honestly, like having any sort of like animosity between anyone wouldn't be good for the team. And if that's the priority, then it leaves you to have like lifelong friendships and connections, which is always amazing. And
and go back to my shirt, be a nice human, right? It's
nice
like,
human.
like
It can be broken down to like 4 simple words.
Yeah, be a nice human, and the world will be a much better place on all levels. So that's the thing about that team. They were all so many nice humans.
Yeah. Except for a word I spotted in your answer was pranks. And I wanted to ask, what was like the best prank that was either that you were part of, that you saw, or that happened to you on that team?
We used to do a lot of pranks. One was Mia Hamm was being Nike. She was a Nike athlete, right? And I don't know if you've ever been on the Nike campus, their headquarters in Beaverton, Oregon, but they name all their buildings after athletes. And so the Serena Williams building, the Lance Armstrong building, which probably we shouldn't say that because he was caught cheating. Okay, so the Michael Jordan building, and Mia Hamm was getting her own building. And so they flew all the team out to the building ceremony dedication. And this is before the 99 World Cup, actually. I think it was the year of the World Cup, somewhere around there. And so Mia is like the type of person who, one, does not want to be the superstar, even though she is, and in the best of ways. Like she did not like the spotlight. She was very selfless, meaning she didn't ever want it to be about her. She wanted it to be about everyone else. She was a great model teammate, and how perfect for her to be the star, because that was the example we got from our rock star. And so we knew she was like so uncomfortable with this whole unveiling. And so we named everything in our hotel room where we were staying. We labeled everything: the Mia Hamm lamp, the Mia Hamm toilet when she was away one day, the Mia Hamm pillow. And so everything, the Mia Hamm elevator, the whole hotel, we labeled Mia Hamm's little items. And she walked into her room and she started looking around. And she's looking and she's reading, and then she starts chuckling and giggling and just nods and laughs. And it's like, you crazies. So that was good fun. Brandy Chastain, the one who, when she scored the winning penalty kick in 1999 and ripped her shirt off, she was always a good sport. So we would prank her all the time. It was fun. It was good fun.
Yeah.
We didn't take ourselves too seriously. That was the best part about that group.
Yeah. That's important too. Right.
Yeah. So important.
Because it's still, at the end of the day, you're still having fun.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. All right. And so I do want to get into a little bit of a more serious question, just about something that I know you and many other people and soccer players are passionate about, which is the pay gap in sports. And just just like talk about why it's important and why people should be educated about it.
Yeah, so going back to our time with the national team, we were constantly banging on US Soccer's door, who's the federation is what runs US Soccer in this country. FIFA, as you mentioned, runs it globally, but in this country, US Soccer, the federation runs it. And we kept saying to them, hey, this isn't fair. Why are we staying at a Holiday Inn when the men's team's staying at the Ritz-Carlton? And it's not that we need to be paid millions, but there needs to be more equitable treatment. So we were fighting for equitable pay and equitable treatment, not equal, as it should be back then, I think. And now, obviously, the women's team's more popular. They make the federation a lot of money. They bring in a lot of revenue. They attract large crowds. They win a lot of World Cups and Olympics, and they're very successful. And so the women of this current generation took our baton. We passed to them and said, hey, we're going to run with this. And we're not just going to run with this. We're going to fight for this. And so as we've seen, it's been, a multi-decade long fight, but just recently, this current group was able to sign a contract with US Soccer and with the men's national team for equal pay and really equal. And the big issue in there had been FIFA pays out bonuses for World Cup performances, and they pay a lot more to the men's teams than they do to the women's, because FIFA will say, well, we make a lot more on the men's side. And what these women have been arguing for years is, well, just because FIFA discriminates doesn't mean you should pass it on. We should equalize that money. And so they won. They won this fight. And I'm really proud of what they were able to do, because it's been a long time coming. But I think in the end, it's great for the men as well, because they share in this pot and they share in this revenue equally. So if the women are successful and FIFA pays the women more, then the men benefit as well, because they share it equally. If the men are successful, the women benefit. And so for the first time, Pepper, these two teams, there's never been it's never been contentious, but there's always been like, oh, the men get this and we don't, and the men get this and we don't, that kind of feeling. And you get a little angry about that over time when it keeps happening. And so now it's like, oh, okay, great. We can actually row in the same boat together and be really on one team together. And so that makes me very happy, because it should have been like that from a very long time ago.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, it's just so exciting and incredible this is happening now. And it's something I'm so excited about, for girls like me to now have the opportunity to be paid equally for the equal, if not more, amount of work and winning. It just makes sense. And that's honestly, when you hear, the current team, Megan Rapinoe and Alex Morgan and Crystal Dunn and Becky Sauerbrunn, when they're talking about this fight, they are talking exactly like that. And that's what we used to say. It's not about us. It's about for the next generation. If you had a blank slate, Billie Jean King, the legendary tennis player, used to say to me, who's a dear friend, what do you want? What do you want? Not for you. It's not about lining your pockets. What do you want for the next generation? And that's exactly it, which is why they're so excited, because there's now a whole fresh young generation of women who are going, maybe it's not even sports related, it's just life related, that I deserve equal pay for equal work. And you should get that. And so I'm hopeful this will change it on so many different layers and levels. Yeah. But also, of course, there's people like you to thank for even getting this conversation started, which is why it means so much to have you on the podcast.
Yeah, the old bags, that's really nice of you, but we like to defer the credit. But we're happy they got there. We were so happy.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. And so I do also want to touch on the Julie Foudy Sports Leadership Academy, which I think is an awesome idea. And I think it's super incredible. It's something that you've been able to found and, create. So I want you to talk about how you got that started and what everybody needs to know.
We got to get you there, Pepper. You would love it. I think when I retired from playing in 2004, I had been doing just soccer camps, like normal soccer camps, teaching young kids how to kick a ball in the summer. And I mean, although they're important, I thought, oh my gosh, that's not the gift of sport. The gift of sport is that you're learning how to be a leader. You're learning how to get out of your comfort zone. You're learning how to deal with adversity. You're learning how to be a good teammate, a good human, all these things we've talked about. And why aren't we talking to that more? like, it's not just about the mechanics of how to play the X's and O's, it's about life. And so a small group of us, of friends, and my husband and I launched it right after I retired and said, what if we did overnight camps for a week? And we did soccer, and we kept it just, we said, we didn't call it Soccer Leadership Academy. We called it Sports Leadership Academy on purpose, because we knew we would do other sports. So we do lacrosse, we do basketball, we've done water polo, we do soccer. And really using sports as the vehicle, but teaching these young girls, it's for all girls ages 12 to 18, middle school and high school, essentially, how to be a leader in your community, and how to speak up and stand up and talk about things that are maybe uncomfortable, but you feel really passionate about, and have the confidence to do that, and all those things, raising your hand, getting out of your comfort zone, all those things. So we've been doing it, my gosh, for 2 decades, Pepper, since I've been retired now, what, 16 years? No, my gosh, 18 years I've been retired. 2004 was my last Olympics. Oh my God, is that right? That is right. I am old. So yeah, we've been doing it for like 16, 17 years, right after I retired, which is, and they really are a labor of love. And we have amazing women who are on staff, and Tamika Catchings, who's a 4-time Olympic gold medalist, runs the basketball portion. And I have these 2 rock star lacrosse players, Dana Dobby from Canada and Jen Adams from Australia, who run the lacrosse. And so it's really cool. It's fun. And we've had, like thousands of girls come through it, and they all now are off working. Like the first iteration, they're now coming back on staff. One is rocking it at Google, and they're at all these little cool companies doing great things. So, and I hope that planted a seed that's really important for them.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that sounds like just an incredible experience. And another thing I want to point out is that you said 12 to 18, right?
Yeah.
So next summer I'll be 12, which is just something.
Let's go. Let's go, Pepper. We'll get you there. It's not too far from you either. It's at Hightstown, New Jersey, which is the Petty School. It's this gorgeous boarding school for high school boarding school. So we'll get you there.
Yeah, that's awesome.
We'll definitely do a podcast there. Maybe we could even or we just get you talking to the gals on stage. You can interview them.
Yeah, that would be really cool too.
Yeah, no, we'll do.
Or even a combination of the both. But let's definitely figure that out as well. All right, so I do have a couple more questions for you, and I did want to ask about all the work you've done with ESPNW. So I think that's really important as well. As I know you've done work with ESPN, and I'll touch on that a little bit later. But for now, just talk about what your experience has been like. Doing everything you've done for ESPNW.
So ESPNW is the women's side of the brand in terms of they're obviously more focused on women with the W. And I have always been very partial to this side, of course, as a female athlete who often complain to ESPN about their coverage of women's sports. And so and not just ESPN, as we know, but there's a small percentage of media companies that are covering women's sports. Obviously, it's gotten a lot better, but going back into my era, it was a challenge to get anything covered on television or media attention around things. And so we're seeing in these last couple of years that shift dramatically where, they're covering it more. The numbers are good. The ratings are good. Now they're not just doing Little League baseball, it's Little League softball as well. And it's all on our air. So it's fantastic. But on the W side, I have always loved it because it's an avenue to tell women's stories. And I think that the more people who know these amazing stories about these athletes or trailblazers, it's not even athletes necessarily, but trailblazing women who have done these rad things in their communities and in their companies or running businesses, then we should be telling those stories and sharing those stories. And so that's a lot of what I've done, whether it's through podcast or features. We do a lot of ESPNW summits. So it's been really fun, and it's been wonderful to try and really tell a lot of cool women's stories.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a really cool platform, and definitely seems like it'd be a cool experience, and definitely something that I think everyone should check out. You mentioned the summit. I don't know when the next one is, but it's definitely always something that's really cool to watch.
Yeah.
And yeah, absolutely. Okay, so the last thing I want to touch on in terms of your career, I guess, is just your work for the Little League World Series, which is amazingly how I met you and where I met you. But what was that experience like?
Oh my gosh, Little League World Series, as you got a little taste of, is like nothing I've ever covered. And I mean, not not to dissuade you from doing this industry, Pepper, but it's not always that fun and light. I mean, Little League World Series, they basically said to me, go out and talk to people, go have fun. And I was like, that's the only guidance you're giving me? Go talk to people and have fun, because I can do that really well. But I can also be a little crazy. And they're like, no, we want all of you and your craziness. Go. This is what this event's about. And so I've been doing it for like 5 years, and it's so much fun because it is just that. It's basically it feels like a county fair, meets a baseball tournament. And there's just this incredible perspective and joy to it that I think is often lost, as we were talking about in youth sports. And that's another reason I really like it, that there's sportsmanship. And yes, they're competitive, but they have it in perspective. And so it's fun. There's just a lot of joy in it. And so I love doing it. I know nothing about baseball. I'm very transparent about that. I don't need to, because I'm really just talking to people and getting to know their stories and sharing it with the viewers. And most importantly, just having fun. And I think we could use a little bit more of that in television, honestly, not just at the 12-year-old, Little League baseball level. So, and in life in general. So I've loved it. I block my calendar every year to cover it. And it has really been one of the highlights of some of the things I've done. And I've covered Olympics and World Cups and a lot of big events. And that really is one of the best things I've ever covered.
Yeah. I mean,
So you got to come back. You're coming
yes,
back,
I would
right?
love to. Yeah,
Okay.
especially
Good.
if they invite me. But I mean, it's like crazy. Like you like drive around the town, you walk around the town, and like that's everything. It's like
Yeah.
that's like what the town is for. And so when that
Yeah.
time comes around, it's like they're all rallied. Like there's signs like "Welcome Little Leaguers" like everywhere. I mean,
Yeah.
it's incredible. Like so, if anybody, if you get a chance to make it out there, and I mean, also like the Little Leaguers are very talented as well. So it's not boring. It's definitely fun.
Yeah. It's
I mean,
fun
we
to
saw,
watch.
yeah, with Hawaii this year. I mean, they're
They're
amazing.
crushing it. I've learned a lot about baseball. I have an awesome producer who you worked with, Mitch Hummer, who I think, is my baseball head. I'm always like, can I say this? Can I say it like that? Should I, when I ask this question, how do you phrase that? And he's so nice. So he's taught me a lot as well. But it's been super fun though. I'm so glad you got to get a taste of it. And yes, you should cross it. A lot of people have it on their bucket list. Come on out to Williamsport.
Yeah, it's definitely awesome. All right. So I also wanted to talk to you about being a role model for girls like me and how important that is and what it means to you.
Oh, it means everything. I mean, I think what we're here to do in life is to turn and pull, right? And to pull someone along and help them. And I think I said to you that day at Little League World Series when you were shadowing me one day, like, if you ever need anything, just reach out, call me. And I mean that, right? I think the gift that women bring to this world, and I think this is one of our great strengths, is we have this incredible ability and compassion to go, how am I not just going to lead, but how am I going to bring everyone else behind me up to that level? And how am I going to help them lead? And it's never about what am I getting out of this? It's like, how can we help? And that's where I think just seeing more women in sports and in the business and media, and especially in sports journalism, is fantastic, because I think that voice is needed and it's been missing for a long time. And so when I see someone like you getting into this, and largely probably what, self-taught, I'm guessing, right? How did you get into this, Pepper?
I mean, honestly, like I always say this, but like really from curiosity. Like I really don't have any training. Like it's
Yeah.
really just because I want to and I want to be here and I am.
See, and And that's the most important trait, I think, to anything, is just being curious about stuff, because then you want to learn, you want to grow, and you have this great growth mindset. So I mean, and I applaud you for following up and asking questions and trying things and doing podcasts and doing this, because a lot of people think, oh, I can't do that. I've never been trained. I haven't gone to journalism school, or I haven't done this, or I haven't done that. Right. And so they put up these barriers right away thinking, well, I can't do it, rather than, well, why not? We all can learn. Right.
Yeah,
And
at least try.
at
Like
least
you'll
try. That goes for
live your
anything.
entire life like not knowing if you could have if you don't try.
Right.
That's one of the things, like there have been so many moments where I second guess myself and I'm like, I probably can't do it. Like, just try,
Yeah.
you never know what'll happen.
Have you ever regretted trying something? No, but you regret it when you don't try it, because you're like, gosh, why didn't I do that? Right. But you never regret trying something. And I'm always saying that to my kids, like, you got to try it. Just try it. I know it may feel uncomfortable. I mean, that's a lot of our leadership academy, honestly, because I think that's the other thing with women is we sometimes hesitate. We want to check every box. We want to be perfect. And it's like, nope, you got to just go. You got to know you're not going to know everything. Maybe you haven't got that training. Maybe you're not the perfect fit yet, but you'll get there. So I applaud you for that, because that's not easy.
Thank you. And, like I said before, thank you for, paving the way and being a role model for girls like me everywhere.
Aw, thanks, Pepper.
Yeah, of course. All right. And my last question, where can people follow you and what do you have coming up next so we can all, see your face doing amazing things?
Aw. Let's see. So I am on Twitter. I am on Instagram. I'm not very active because I'm kind of on this anti-social media train right now. But I do post sometimes. But just at Julie Foudy. And then on I don't do Facebook, never have, won't do it. I can't even keep up with Instagram and Twitter. And then what am I covering? I cover I'm calling US women's national team games. Of course, soccer is the main thing I call. So the women have 2 big games coming up. They play England on October 7th. I am not calling that one, sadly, at Wembley, sold out, 80,000 plus. Wembley is like this iconic football soccer stadium. They call it football in England, so I'm trying to be respectful to them. We call it soccer. And then I call the second game they play against Spain on October 11th. And then I call another game in New York City on November 13th. The US play Germany. And then my podcast launches October 12th. So that's soon, next week. So the podcast, we're going to start doing a lot. We do 10 seasons of 10 episodes, and that's super fun for me as well, because we talk to more amazing women. So we'll start that next week as well. Laughter Permitted, it's called.
Yeah. All right. Definitely, everyone, you can look forward to all of that. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm sure you're very busy. Yeah, it was so great to talk to you and meet you in Williamsport. And I hope we can collaborate and work on something at some point.
Let's go. Awesome. Let's do it, Pepper. I'm in. My hand is raised. I don't need to check any boxes. Let's go. Hey, keep on crushing it, sister. I'm super proud of all you're doing.
Thank you.
And I mean that. Holler at me if you need anything. All of us, we women in this industry want to help. So always ask.
I really appreciate that. So thank you so much. And everybody, thank you so much for tuning in and for listening as well.